Hello and welcome to Book Lovers Companion, the podcast about books, authors, their craft, and more. And today, dear listeners and subscribers, we are going to talk about the more. The title of this episode or this live stream is The Secrets of Marketing, and joining me from across the pond is an expert in this field, Rick Lite. Hello, Rick, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for making time for us. And like I said before we started the stream, I'm very certain that a lot of independent authors out there, or even self-publishing authors, are most interested in everything you have to tell us about the secrets of marketing. But first of all, let me ask you, how did you start, or did you personally start in the field of marketing? How did you get in there, and what interests you in marketing?
Yeah, my wife is an author, and she's been writing children's books for about 20 years. These are books that help kids with stress and anxiety and anger. So we started her publishing company called Stress Free Kids, and we fortunately experienced a lot of success. We worked extremely hard trying to figure out how authors can get publicity, how they can market their books. And I was between jobs, and I thought I'd help her for a month. That was my goal. Well, I really fell in love with what she was doing, and I continued to help her for a period of time. And I noticed a theme in helping her is that there was a lot of independent authors that were looking for help, and they weren't getting a lot of direction. The internet was providing some of it, but we were just coming out of the traditional phase. Social media wasn't that big. Online marketing was just forming. Indie authors were still looked at as less than traditional authors. So I started helping some authors for free, just because I like teaching, I like helping other people. And that turned into a business. About 12 years ago, I started a marketing agency called Stress Free Book Marketing, dovetailing off of the Stress Free Kids publishing company. But we have the unique ability to understand what it's like to be an author and the emotions behind bringing a book to market, and also understanding what it takes to get your book out there. Trying to avoid the pitfalls, trying to avoid spending too much money, trying to avoid being taken advantage of. And that's what we're about. We're about helping independent authors get some traction in this business. And so I got into the business really in just helping my wife, but I've fallen in love with it and then started to carve my own niche into the market.
And I mean, let's get started. Suppose I've written a book, a manuscript, and I'm having it on my desk, and now I'm wondering, okay, so I do not want to go the traditional route. I do not want to send my manuscript to, I don't know, how many publishing houses, and, how do I go about it?
Yeah, everybody has a different way to enter the self-publishing realm, but hopefully your book is professionally edited, and that you're working on a professional cover design and interior. You're giving yourself a chance to be seen out there. I'm sure the writing is good and getting better. But hopefully, as you're writing the book, or at least as you're editing it, you're starting to think about marketing. You're starting to think about building a platform of support for your project.
Okay, so what you're basically saying is even before I finished my manuscript, I should spare a thought or two on how to get it out there.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you're writing a little bit of a business plan. I mean, I haven't run into many independent authors that put together a sophisticated business plan because I don't think it's necessary, but at least understanding the costs involved
Yeah.
so that you're not spending your entire budget on
Yeah.
production and then you have no money to market it.
Yeah.
You want to understand what is involved in the marketing side so that when you publish your book that it's smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an example.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of independent authors, certainly first-time authors, they're not understanding what the costs are for printing. So they write a book. It's a 350-page book. They're done with it. And then they go to upload it on Ingram Spark or on KDP or BookBaby or another firm. And they realize that their printing costs are exorbitant. And they have to either price the book too high, or they are thinking about maybe not offering an industry percentage, 55% off retail percentage discount. So they come into a roadblock even before the book is launched. That's an example of an author not necessarily understanding all of what lies ahead. So I always recommend that authors take the time while they're writing, while the book's being edited, they have some time to start thinking about marketing, what they want to accomplish, what their goals are, and understand what's ahead, staying ahead of the curve so that they don't run into things that change the whole complexity of the project.
Do you think that authors, especially independent authors, like you said, they often do not have a business plan. They do not spend too much time thinking about what comes after finishing the manuscript, that they are too focused on their book, how it looks, like you said, cover art and so on, and have the perfect wording in their book, that they spend too much time and energy and even money on that part of the whole enterprise then, and forgetting about marketing in the end?
I think it's not uncommon for that to happen. I can't really speak to like a percentage,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of, for instance, I'm on the Ingram Spark website under resources, under marketing resources, and I get a lot of referrals from them. And I would say that a good portion of the referrals coming out of Ingram are the book is published and now they're ready to market. Versus thinking about the marketing, getting reviews before the book's out. There's a lot of steps that we could talk about of action that you could take before your book's even published.
Yeah.
So that's a very common situation that happens, and it's happening less. I think there's more resources out there and more companies putting information out there about how to launch a book. But yeah, I've been told many times, I can't afford to market the book. I spend so much money on the manuscript. It's like having children.
Yeah.
You're so focused on having a child that you're not thinking about what comes after that.
Very true, because it's their child indeed. I mean, your book is your child in a way, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So, Rick, you said you can talk us a little bit through the steps an author should take when he or she wants to get her book out there, even before the whole thing is finished. Can you walk us through the steps you would recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as the author is writing a book, they should start thinking about their marketing goals. They should look at book reviews as a way to either capture beta readers, or certainly before the book is published, start building up reviews, start validating the writing by getting advanced reader copies out to industry reviewers, book bloggers, maybe a Kirkus review if you want to get into the libraries. So starting to plan for validating the book. You're building up an author platform, which includes reviews, which includes a website, which includes a social presence. And in order to have any type of social presence, you need to be working on that before the book is out. So a lot of times authors that are successful will start to get start building a foundation of people, start building a street team, start building whatever term you want to call it, family, friends, co-workers, alumni, people that want to support you, can start reading your book, can start sharing social media content, and start to build your platform. If you have a website, you can't build a website after the book is launched. You're missing the point of that. So you want to have a website in working order before the publishing date, so that you can use a mailing list, or you could start driving people to the website where you have information about the book and about your writing and about blogging and other things that come to play. So I mean, I do have a lot of the timeline in an article on my website, which kind of spells out everything, and like the time, the months, the strategies that you should be working on. But if I could make the point to say that people should start marketing before the book is done, that's really what all this is about, is starting early, understanding what's involved, understanding that you're going to have to spend some money on marketing. But if you want to do it yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you need a decent amount of time to do that. If you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have someone like myself or someone else help you with reviews and getting the word out there, then you need at least 3, but more like 4 or 5 months ahead of time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the traditional publishers put out books a year before the publishing date, 9
Yeah.
months, 6 months before the
Yeah.
publishing date. So you want to act like a traditionally published book.
Mm.
So when somebody sees your book and they see a publishing date of March 2025,
Mm-hmm.
they're thinking, oh, this person knows what they're doing.
Mm. Yeah, I do get you. I do understand. And all those steps you just mentioned, getting beta readers, getting reviews, getting advanced reader copies, building your website, be present on social media. I mean, it takes a lot of time, of course. I mean,
It does.
social media is not that money intensive, but time consuming. Getting out, I mean, advanced reader copies, yeah, you have to take care of like you said, editing yourself or everything that involves. So that's not the problem, because you can send PDFs and so on, if that's your concern.
Yeah.
And where does, I mean, also websites, it's not, I mean, it costs money, don't get me wrong. If it shall or should look half decent, it
Yeah.
does involve money. So what is next? And is it would you say, then the book is published, or you have published it, or are there any further steps you need to take before you even present the end product? Because I'm thinking of, all kinds of merchandise, saying, things you can offer, like, I don't know, a bookmark or something like
Yeah.
that. Does that help? Is that something you would recommend or not? Or is it just a waste of money, or does it help?
In terms of bookmarks, I think it's a nice gift to give. Anytime you mail out a book, you put a bookmark in it. If it's done well, if it's a thick
Mm-hmm.
paper, it had 2 sides to it. If it's not too promotional towards your book,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want your information on there,
Yeah.
but maybe you don't have to put all the metadata on there. You don't
Yeah.
have to put the price and the
Yeah.
ISBN, and
Yeah.
you want to make it a universal bookmark so somebody's not afraid to use it in all their books
Yeah.
or to give it to somebody else. That's a nice investment, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As far as merchandise and other things, it really depends. I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
want to talk somebody out of
Mm-hmm.
doing that,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it also can distract
Mm.
from the focus.
Mm.
I'm a firm
Okay.
believer that you should be really good at 1 or 2 things versus trying to be good at 5 or 6. Like with social media, I don't recommend having 4 or 5 different accounts because you just stretch yourself too thin unless you're going to hire somebody to manage them for you,
Yeah.
which is a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
But it's better that you're really good on 1 or 2 platforms and have the other platforms, post to them, but trying to really understand how to work those, how to build a following, how to get the ton of people looking at your content is challenging. Same thing with YouTube. I mean, now, so you have, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Goodreads is really a social platform and very underutilized. YouTube is a social platform. So now that's 6. I mean, most people have day jobs.
Yeah.
Most people have families. They want to do other things,
Yeah.
but independent authors have to be very selfish with their time because it's better to focus in on 1 or 2 platforms to use and really doing a good job with those would to me would be more beneficial.
Okay, yeah. And my next question would be, speaking of social media platforms, of course, how often should you post and remind people of your book, because without getting too annoying, because
Yeah.
not that again, not that again.
Yeah, that's a trap that a lot of people, not just authors, fall into. So if you're starting social media before your book is out, it's okay to post maybe a cover reveal or get an idea from your followers which cover they like better, A or
Yeah,
B,
yeah.
or something related to the book where you're not showing the same colors, the same book cover. You want to avoid being very one note, meaning, if you look on somebody's account and you see the same picture over and over again, especially of
Yeah.
a cover and every other post, when you see that cover, you roll your eyes, you go to the next post, right? They could be giving away $1 million on that post, but you're not going to look at it because it looks too familiar.
Yeah.
So without getting too deep into that and trying to answer your question is post early, post as often as you have followers. If you only have 10 followers, you can't post 3 times a day. That's when you're starting to get people oversaturated.
Yeah.
So you have to work on posting really high quality content and also trying to build a following. You have to look at it very selflessly. You have to look at it as, how can I help other people grow their accounts? How can I connect with people just to connect? How can I share information with other people that they would be interested in? Because then you have people that look forward to getting a post from you because you had just a beautiful string of posts over the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So once you start to build that up, then you should try to post around the same time each week, or times each week, depending on how much you're doing, because then people will be looking for it.
Yeah.
Make sure you stick
Yeah.
with that. Make
Yeah.
sure you're building up the numbers of followers so that
Yeah.
you can post more. And then you'll start to see it take off a little bit. You'll start to see people sharing more content. And when somebody shares content, especially if they're tagging you in that or writing their own content with their share, now it's getting exposure to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people,
Yeah,
not
true.
just your 10 people or your 15 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good quality content is key. If you're not sure what to say, fiction authors have a little bit more of a tough time because, what's the message? If you write historical fiction, you can post things like, I have a client that does a lot of work in the Gilded Age, and she's a historian for that, and she's got 7 fiction books out, crime fiction books out. She posts a
Ooh.
lot about the Gilded Age with pictures and dresses and estates and just a lot of visual content that she posts, which it plugs into those people that are watching HBO show called The Gilded Age, or people that have Gilded Age mansions, or whatever. So you could find your niche. Doesn't
Uh-huh.
always have to be about your book, but
Yeah.
I have some authors that write recipes. They love to cook, so
Mm-hmm.
their social media is recipes, and then an occasional promotional post
Uh,
about the book. So there's not one way to do it. Just be happy with what you do and put good content out there.
I'm already hooked on the Gilded Age author.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Cecilia Tishy is her
Okay.
name.
Okay.
Cecilia Tishy. Yeah, I can converse with you after and send you her.
Oh, splendid.
She's
It's
a great
crime fiction
writer,
and Gilded Age,
and
so splendid.
yeah,
I'm
her
most
books are
interested.
extremely accurate. You feel like you're
Okay.
there,
And the historian. Ooh.
and she does well. Yeah.
Sounds fascinating. Okay.
Yes.
Someone to write down for me. And
Okay.
I also wanted to ask, which came to mind because I've seen it quite a few times now on social media as well, so-called book trailers. What do you think about
Hmm.
them?
I think it's nice. Videos are very powerful tools to use
Mm-hmm.
in anything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have it's another opportunity to promote your book
Mm.
with something visual. People
Yeah.
like visuals.
Yeah.
If you have a video or a blog article, they're going to go with the video.
Yeah.
If you have a really well done book trailer, that can help promote your book.
Yeah.
But you can also do author readings. You can read from the book. You
Mm-hmm.
could be interviewed on podcasts that are videoed,
Yeah.
and create content that way for
Mm-hmm.
videos. But trailers are a good thing. It
Mm-hmm.
again, finding the right person, making sure that you check their
Mm-hmm.
references, see what work they
Mm-hmm.
do. Use a tool like Upwork or one of the online places that
Mm.
hold the money in escrow until the
Mm-hmm.
project's done and satisfied,
Mm-hmm.
because then you're not just giving people money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those are the type of things that I would love to
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm. And what would be your advice on, like you said, you have to build up a following. And how
Hmm.
about the whole writing community? Because getting reposted is often also a thing of how involved you are within the writing community. Because when I repost an author, another author will repost me, and so on, reposting each other and getting
Yep.
invited or getting reviews from each other. Would you recommend it? Because I mean, supporting each other is the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a very misunderstood strategy. I've heard authors say, I don't want to reach out to another author, they're my competitor. Well, they're not your
No.
competitor. They're your comrade, they're
Yeah.
their friend. And if you go onto their social platforms or
Yeah.
their blog articles, and you comment and you like it and you repost it and you
Yeah.
share it, you can just start to develop a nice relationship with
Mm.
people. You're trying to help them, and they're going to help you,
Yeah.
and you're going to help them more, and they're going to help you more. Next thing you know, they're taking your book to a conference or
Yeah.
a trade show or a book fair, and they want to help you that way. Or you're splitting a table with them at a book fair.
Yeah.
So helping each other, but doing it for the right reasons,
Yeah.
is very important. Not
Yeah.
doing it to not expecting something in return.
Hmm.
You can't repost something for
Yeah.
the sole reason of trying to get that person to repost what you've done. It will happen organically. It might not happen immediately, but
Mm-hmm.
if you are trying to help somebody, if you feel like your audience could benefit from another author's writing
Mm-hmm.
or message, and you share that with your followers, they're going to appreciate it, because
Yeah.
that's what they want to get. That's what they want to hear about.
Yeah.
And obviously the author also appreciates that you're helping them. So
Mm.
that's a great strategy. I love that. It doesn't have to be writing groups, although those are
Mm.
great. to start with. It could be people that you meet on social media who
Mm.
live across the globe from
Mm.
you, that you can create a nice relationship with and look to share and help.
Mm. And what about the money that is involved in getting things out there? We said, I mean, think about it when you think of how to spend your money. So nobody wants to talk about money most of the time. But what are we talking about? What about the numbers?
Yeah, it's really depends on what somebody wants to do. I could throw out
Yeah.
a ballpark of, $3,500 to $5,000 for marketing.
Mm.
Maybe that includes getting some help on a few strategies. It might include paying for a Kirkus review,
Mm-hmm.
and it might include paying, maybe for some social promotions or some advertising on Amazon, or even a digital ad on Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on what you want to do, but you have to spend some money. You
Mm-hmm.
just want to do it in the best way to get return.
Mm-hmm.
And as an independent author, if you're connected with somebody that is reputable, somebody that cares about what you're doing, they can guide you also. I mean, I have a lot of clients that might sign up for a marketing plan, and I'm working with them for 3 or 4 months, but they're calling me in 6 months or a year and saying, I was thinking about this thing. Have you heard of this group?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Amazon ads? And
Mm-hmm.
because they trust me, they trust the
Mm-hmm.
information.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to make sure that you at least have people in your life that you can look to get some help,
Yeah.
if you're going to try to do a lot of it on your own, so
Yeah.
that you're not throwing money at things that don't work.
Yeah. That would have been another question. What about the importance of Amazon, and how does it work for independent authors? Like you said, Amazon marketing or ads.
I have a love-hate relationship with Amazon, so I'll give you my honest opinion. I've
Okay.
been a vendor of theirs for 20 years, and
Hmm.
the publishing company has made a nice income from them.
Hmm.
So from that part, I love them. But as a
Mm-hmm.
vendor, they also treat you like crap. Sorry
Hmm.
if that's offensive to anybody. As an advertiser, they're making a lot of money on advertising,
Hmm.
and I am not convinced these days that authors are getting the biggest bang for their buck advertising on Amazon. There are so many
Hmm.
books out there. There are so many people advertising. There are so many keywords out there, and
Yeah.
all that's doing is it's driving up the cost to bid for a
Hmm.
keyword.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were in the stress and anxiety field, and when I started advertising on Amazon 15 years ago, I forget when it
Mm-hmm.
was specifically, but the word anxiety was maybe 60 cents, and we thought that was pretty high. Most of the bids were 30, 25. Now you can't touch anxiety for under $5, because there's so many people that are using it, bidding
Hmm.
on it. So for the independent author, you could do things like set daily limits, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
$5 max per day. So
Okay.
300 a month is what you
Okay.
could spend. That might be worth it. Do your research. There's tools out there that you can find keywords in.
Yeah.
You could use AI to look for keywords within a
Hmm.
specific book.
Mm-hmm.
So there are free, if not very inexpensive, ways to find keywords that you can use. And then if you're going to use something like Amazon ads, you can't advertise and set it and forget it.
Hmm.
You have to really work it, let it go through their system, but then go through and make sure that your bids aren't too high or aren't too low, or maybe you decide you don't want to bid for something that's too
Mm-hmm.
high. You'd
Mm-hmm.
rather spend more money on moderate bids or lower bids and try to capture people that way. But I haven't seen the success that I did even years ago with authors.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that as much now, and I'm not quite sure why, but I do know that Amazon made something like $30 billion last year on ads alone. That might sound high. It does sound high. It's either 3 or 30, but it's just a boat. It's a boatload of money,
Yeah.
and but look, if you look at it as a platform,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to get closer to the reader than somebody being on Amazon looking for a book with your keywords. So
Yeah,
you
that's
have to kind of like balance that out a little bit.
yeah, because as a reader, I often mention it to my guests that if they hadn't contacted me, I would have never stumbled across their books on Amazon because they never came up.
Yeah.
And
That's why I
that's
like Goodreads. Goodreads is
ah
a reader site.
yeah.
All of the reviews, all the bloggers that we work with and the industry people that we work with are posting their reviews on Goodreads.
Mm,
So if I have 3,000 followers on Goodreads and I post a review in my stream, there's going to be a lot of people getting that review, seeing that
mm,
review. And if they think that I liked it, then they might want to get the book.
mm. Mm.
So, and that's free. You're
Yeah.
not spending money to bid on that. So I think there is, Amazon is good,
Yeah.
but it might not be for everybody, but you have to be careful.
Do you think that's where the mistake happens when authors think about marketing? They always think about sales before they think about how to spread the word, even before they have finished. Maybe that's
I
the
think
mistake they make. Do you know what I
that's
mean?
one. You mean just too hyper focused on sales?
Yeah, maybe. Without
Yeah,
realizing that, like you said, they should go on Goodreads, um, spread the words there, get reviews there, and so on, build up a community there, and not just, although they want to sell their book, of course, but they focus on the sales even before, again, they focus on how to get the word out there.
yeah. I think there's setting the right expectations for a project is very important, and it's not uncommon for authors to be hyper focused on sales.
Mm,
I have a tough time with an author that wants to give up their job and write for the rest of their lives.
yeah,
I have to really talk to them about what they can expect in this
yeah,
industry. Now, there's people that have done very well. It's certainly not from a lack of hard work,
yeah.
but I think focus authors should focus on building a platform, just like a
Mm,
house. The
mm,
foundation goes in first. The more solid the foundation is,
mm,
the higher and the wider the house can be.
mm. Yeah. And you mentioned AI for marketing. Has it become this way easier for independent authors using AI as a tool for marketing?
I think so. There's a whole group of authors that are writing books with AI. Both all the print on demand companies say is this done with AI? They want to know up front because they're going to put that disclaimer
Mm,
on the
yeah,
page.
yeah.
So I'm not suggesting that authors go out and write books with artificial intelligence, but if there are tasks that they can do that make their life easier,
Mm-hmm,
then they should do that. If they're looking for keywords, you can
mm-hmm,
ask ChatGPT,
mm-hmm,
list out 15 keywords for the book Angry Octopus, and you'll get maybe 70% correct.
mm-hmm.
So if that could save you time.
Yeah,
You could even do some stuff with social media. You
yeah.
can write posts and tweets about a specific book or a topic, but you should never just let AI do all the work for you. You should interject your personality and hashtags and
Mm-hmm,
things like that. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with working smarter as an author.
mm. Do you think that authors are sometimes even too reluctant to offer their piece of labor, their labor of love to, let's say, book fairs because you know, they feel as if their product is not good enough or they are a bit shy, but it's necessary to overcome that, to tell people, look here,
Yeah.
that's my product and
Yeah.
please give it a try.
So if you're writing a memoir about your life in some aspect of your life, I mean, how vulnerable is that? You know,
Yeah.
you're putting it out there. You're standing out there and
Yeah.
screaming to the world, "This is my story." So yeah, I think but through beta readers and through advanced reader copies that you send out to bloggers or industry people, you'll get feedback on that. And if you
Yeah.
have an advanced publishing date of March of next year, you can make changes even to your
Yeah.
manuscript, even after you produce the book. You
Yeah.
could say, you could think about it and say, yeah, that's some good feedback. I'm gonna change that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah. Maybe that's also the reason why people often use beta readers and advanced reader copies. That chance to
Yeah.
work on it again.
I don't know if they go into it saying, wow, I really want to revise this and I'm done. But I think that they're trying to put their foot in the water, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak,
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
just test out, like you
Yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah.
Putting it out there is tough sometimes, and they
Yeah.
want validation.
Yeah.
Reviews are validate your writing.
Mm. Yeah.
You want real, honest reviews. Now,
Yeah.
if your reviews come back that there's more work to be done, no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
You haven't published
True.
your book yet,
Yeah.
right? So now you can get with an editor, you can continue writing, you can work
Yeah.
on it. You could forget the publishing date. You could put this project, that part of the project on hold. You haven't introduced something. But once you put it out there, if you start getting feedback about punctuation or editing
Mm-hmm.
or following the story, it's hard to pull back from that. It's hard
Yeah.
to recover because those reviews stay with the book.
Well. Yeah. Yeah.
So again, there's a certain way to do this, and I wish every author would would do that when they're thinking about self-publishing
Mm.
a book.
Mm.
Getting it edited, absolutely, and is
Yeah.
essential.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Absolutely. And what are your thoughts on writing for the market? Because that's something that stayed with me when Jeffrey Deaver said it at the panel discussion. He said he keeps a close eye on the market, and then he writes his book accordingly.
Sure. It depends on what you're writing, but clearly, knowing your audience and knowing who you're talking about when you're writing a
Mm.
book, especially fiction, is something that's very important. So that's sound advice.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people take a little bit longer to write a book, and things might change, especially if they're writing about topics that might be present or happening today.
Mm.
So, there's it's yeah, I think that's good sound advice. Knowing your market and knowing the audience. Yeah, I think it overlaps.
How do you know your audience? I mean, that does sound naive, the question, but how do you get to know your audience?
Well, who'd you write the book? Who did you have in mind when you were writing the book? Who did you
Myself.
visualize you were
You
speaking
know,
to?
you know myself. Some authors say, "Oh, I write this book for myself." Of course, you write it for yourself, but you are also thinking of other people, perhaps, who would enjoy
Yeah,
a specific genre.
yeah, I think so. Knowing your audience is as simple as understanding who you're writing for.
Hmm.
Um, that doesn't always pull through. There's expansion on your audience. You
Hmm.
might be able to have many sub audiences or
Hmm.
audiences that you wouldn't think would be interested, that become interested or are interested. But I think understanding your audience and certainly knowing how to reach them where they
Yeah.
are is something that's very, very powerful.
Are we back on social media then? Follow social
Uh,
media posts where your genre is concerned?
in meaning what? Is there a
I'm
question?
finding out who your audience is and what they like at the moment, how the wind has changed, maybe.
Yeah, that could be one platform that you find it out. Reading, following some of the industry organizations, getting reputable people and signing up for their newsletters to see what they're writing about.
Mm-hmm.
So just keeping an ear to the industry
Mm-hmm.
would be a good idea, especially if you want to be a writer and not just write one book. If you're writing one book,
Mm-hmm.
you probably are not going to spend a ton of time doing that. But if you want to write multiple books, or if at least you're open to it,
Yeah.
then sure. Social media would be one platform.
Mm. Do you think that, from a marketing point of view, do you think that the change in the publishing industry that has happened over the last, let's say, 10 years, and there has been a change, will this go on? Will this go back? What are your thoughts on the development of this whole industry?
I don't know. I'm a little scared about AI, to be
Mm,
honest with you.
mm,
I think our lives are going to be different because
mm,
of this. But as far as the industry is concerned, it seems to be stabilizing in traditional publishing and then independent publishing. And within the independent world, you have hybrids, you have people publishing their own books. I think the printers like Ingram have made it very easy for authors to publish their own books and to even begin marketing their own books. So good writers and good marketers will be seen more, I
mm-hmm,
think,
mm-hmm,
than the average writer.
mm-hmm.
But the traditional publishers just have such power and such a nice platform that it's hard to compete with that,
Yeah.
unfortunately, or fortunately. I mean, the other thing to consider is that if you're writing multiple books, it's not a bad idea to have one book traditionally published if you can.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Get an agent, get your agent to pitch you to publishers and do that. I mean, fortunately, my wife was traditionally published with Simon and Schuster and Scholastic.
mm-hmm,
And Scholastic approached her because of the topic she writes in and the
mm-hmm,
fact that she had a huge social presence.
mm-hmm.
So you never know when somebody's going to reach out to you. So that's another goal that you could have is to have at least one book traditionally published.
Again, you said, yeah, they reached out to her and she had a following. That made me think of another, yeah, 50 Shades of Something. We all know that. And it all started out as fan fiction. And then it
Yeah.
was published, became a huge success. We had the films. Yeah, they still should apologize for that. But anyway,
Okay.
it does happen.
It does. It does. I had one client recently who he is an indie author. His second book didn't have an overwhelming amount of reviews on it, maybe 40 or so.
Yeah.
Had about a dozen awards, and somebody
Mm-hmm.
at Simon and Schuster found the book, read the book, took it to their team,
Mm-hmm.
and offered to purchase the rights of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And the last I understood it, they were in the process of that, and Netflix was in the process of negotiating a movie about the story. Now, I say that not as something that happens to every author of mine,
No, no, of
but
course.
it's one author out of many.
Yeah.
But he put himself in the conversation by getting awards, by getting reviews, by writing a good story, by doing the things that authors should do when they believe in something. And yes, there's luck involved in that. There's no doubt about it. But if he didn't have those things involved, then it probably wouldn't be having this conversation. So without saying, if that's your dream, that's great. I love dreams. I love people that have high ambitions. I wouldn't throw my money at it to try to get there. I would just do the basic stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you could put yourself in the conversation if you have a well-written book.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, indeed. You really don't know it. So again, what should be an author's focus points who is currently writing his or her book and wants to get the word out for people to read it?
Okay. As you're writing, get beta readers, get people to read it. As it's being edited or after it's edited, if you want to wait till you have a finished copy of that, start sending it out to bloggers that read books all the time, industry review companies. Don't pay for reviews yet. Make sure that the writing is good and that people are coming back with honest honest feedback. And once you hear 20 or 30 people tell you that the writing is really good and that this is a well thought out book, well, now you can lift your head up a little bit higher and maybe go get a Kirkus review. Start to, assuming that your publishing date is in advance, there's only so much you can do until your book appears online. But if your book is done, get it up, get it online so that other resellers pick it up, that Goodreads picks it up, and you could start getting reviews on it on Barnes & Noble and Goodreads at least, and start putting a team together of people that will help you get the book out there, people that will purchase your ebook and write an honest review on Amazon after the publishing date, people that have already written a review on Goodreads and Barnes & Noble, people that will share your posts on social media, that will repost you, that will help you out in whatever way they can, is what I would do even before the book is published. But the validation, I think, is the most important initially, because again, a couple of your questions were about that, putting my baby out to the world, showing this book and letting people read it and give feedback.
Yep.
That's not easy. That's a little bit daunting, especially for a first-time writer.
Absolutely.
Because even if you worked with an editor, you're still going to have hesitation because you haven't experienced this yet. You haven't seen what reviews could lead to. So, that's what I would do and start.
And don't view other authors as your competition. More
Don't
like
view
your
other
support.
authors as your company.
Your support team.
Yeah. Find authors that have the same genre you do and that they write in it, and tap their brain. If you're asking the question at the right time of what did you do to market your book, or did you get success with book fairs, or how many reviews did you get, or how'd you get all your followers? You ask them questions like that, they're going to be, most people would be more than happy to tell you. But
Absolutely.
don't do things to expect something in return. Do them because you want to help somebody else, because you also want that help for you and somebody else that's helping you.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Reach out to podcasters as well.
Yeah. I mean, some podcasters are some of the nicest people around. They work on Saturdays. They're amazing people. So reach out and love your podcaster.
Yes, indeed, absolutely. Yes. And like you said, also your fellow authors. And don't be shy. reaching out, and there's always the possibility. You said getting to book fairs and so on, getting on panel discussions is sometimes even harder, but also maybe reach out to events that feature your genre, for
Yeah,
example. Make it happen,
yeah,
or even go to attend such events and get
yeah,
to talk to others, because that's something authors, also traditionally published authors, do.
yeah. If you get out and you participate in writing groups and clubs and organizations and book fairs and things like that are relevant, you'll learn a ton about the industry.
Yeah.
You'll learn more in those days that you are attending than you would in a year of reading Google.
Mm,
There's just a lot of misinformation. There's people out there that have, in their heart, they're putting out the right information, but they
yeah.
haven't published a book. They're
Mm,
just a marketing person. They don't
yeah.
understand what's involved. So
Mm,
you just have to you just have to speak to people that have had success doing that,
yeah.
and that could be a great strategy to partake in.
Mm. Is there a dark side to independent publishing?
Not that I see.
No. Yeah.
No,
No.
no, I
No.
haven't seen the dark side. I have seen people get ripped off, which is the
Mm,
dark side, I guess.
yeah.
Being taken
Okay.
advantage of,
Mm,
and it seems like once there's blood in the water, you
mm,
know, there's just a lot of activity that way, and that breaks my heart. That's one of the reasons why I started doing this.
yeah.
Is people being taken advantage of. It's so unnecessary, and it's usually people that aren't suspecting, or someone that's a
Mm,
little older, writing their first book, and they're so proud of it,
yeah.
and they don't understand the industry, and they
Yeah.
thought they were referred to somebody they thought was good, and they're just being taken advantage of. It's that's the dark side, I guess.
Mm. How can
But
someone make sure he is in the right hands? He's in the right hands of the right people. Are there any tips you can
yeah,
give in this regard?
yeah. There's organizations. IBPA, I think, has a list of publishers on a blacklist, or
Hmm.
publishers are on a good list.
Hmm.
Google people. There's tons
Yeah.
of people who have been scammed, who have written reviews that are scathing. And trust your gut.
Okay.
If it sounds too good, if somebody's promising you tons of sales, or really any sales,
Hmm.
you need to really take a hard look at who that person is. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give people big chunks of money up front. It should be earned. Speak to people weekly if they're
Mm-hmm.
helping you,
Mm-hmm.
because communication is very important, understanding what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think common sense and doing some searches on the internet will
Okay.
flush out most of the bad guys.
Mm. And Rick, is there anything else you can offer as advice to the independent and self-published authors out there, or those who hope to publish their book in the near future?
Yeah. I think people need to have fun with it. It's something that's very admirable. I mean, if somebody is writing a book and publishing a book is not something that everybody does. So
True.
you want the experience to be good. You want it to be stress-free. You want it to be a good experience. You want to make some money from it. You want people to like your reading. And all those could be achieved if you have a good attitude in it, if you're not putting the pressure on yourself unnecessary for
Mm.
royalties or timelines or things like that, tend to add just stress to the process, and it's unnecessary.
Mm.
But keep your keep your head down and keep on working on it, and amazing things could happen.
Mm. Yeah, true. Dear listeners, are there any questions from your end? Would be
I
most welcome.
don't. I know it seems like we were talking for 5 minutes, but it's been almost an hour.
Yeah, it has been almost an
So
hour.
very easy flowing conversation here. But
Yeah,
I appreciate. I don't have any questions.
neither does our audience, it seems. But it was very interesting to hear you talk about all the ins and outs, and especially for those who are, like I said before, are a bit shy, also a bit shy in reaching out to people like myself as a podcasters, or even, like you said, reviewers. There is nothing to be afraid of. I
Right.
mean, dear listeners or dear authors out there who are thinking about going on a podcast, do so. We are quite nice, and
Yeah.
you can
I,
all.
I I'll be a testament to that.
Splendid. And there's always a way to find a way to make it even sound better. So what I usually do, and what I actually always do with my guests, is I give them the opportunity to tell me if there's something they do not want in the podcast, and I will cut it out
Mhm.
if they feel not comfortable with anything they say, or also because most of the time, nearly always, it's pre-recorded and they can
Yeah.
listen to the end product.
Yeah.
And so I'm
I'm
quite
fine
certain
with
that,
that.
yeah, because I'm quite certain that most of the podcasters do it like that, because there's always editing involved after
Sure.
recording
Sure.
an episode. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
cutting
I'll
out
leave that up to
something.
you if there's something that you want to take out. But I like the freshness of the conversation. It's
Yeah.
very easy going back and forth, and when you speak from the heart, it tends to come out really well.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it was a wonderful conversation with you as well. So thank you. Dear listeners, no questions. No questions at all.
I probably answered a ton of questions. They
I
probably just took notes, and yeah.
Yeah, I
But
think
if they
so.
do, they can always reach out to you directly or to me
Yep.
directly if they have questions. I
Yep.
love to help people. I've got a blog that's active monthly, newsletter that's sent out once a month
Mm-hmm.
with book award opportunities that are coming
Mm.
up, so people can do that. I also feature an author each month
Ah.
in there, but it's all just educational.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to learn about the industry from reading the blog on the
Mm-hmm.
Stress Free Book Marketing
Mm-hmm.
website.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'd be glad to help anybody that has questions or yeah.
Splendid. So, no questions. So, Rick, thank you for doing this. And please don't go away. Wait for me in the green room.
Okay.
I will be with you shortly.
All right. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
Splendid. Dear listeners, dear subscribers, I do hope you enjoyed this episode as much as my guest and I did. And indeed, if you have any questions for my guests afterwards, Stress Free Book Marketing is the way to contact him. And we do hope you will be back for another episode. Until next time.